Hi everyone, my name is Richard O'Yallen, and today I'm going to be talking about an interview I did with one of my close friends, Gabby. She was born in El Salvador. Unfortunately, she's actually in another state right now, so I had to interview her via FaceTime. And I pretty much I jotted down some notes, and that's what I'm going to be going off of today. So, Gabby was born in a small town in El Salvador. I actually have the name of the town in my phone. I don't speak Spanish, so I'm probably going to pronounce this horribly. She was born in, let's see, Sonsonate, El Salvador. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but that's where she was born. So I started off the interview asking her about, what her living conditions were like. And she explained to me that she lived in a very small house that was made out of bricks. She lived with her mother, her older sister, her grandmother, her uncle, and a few other cousins. But overall, there was a total of 9 people in the home, and there was only 3 bedrooms. So, as you can imagine, it got really crowded. And another thing she mentioned to me was that they only had electricity 2 to 3 days a week, which I thought was, pretty crazy. And they also had a limited water supply, so they kind of had to use their water wisely, which I thought was pretty interesting because I personally I couldn't imagine that because living here we don't really have to worry about you we're using our water. I mean I know we're in California's in drought right now, but other than that, for the most part we don't really have to worry about when and if we can use our water. So I then began to ask her what her earliest childhood memories were being in El Salvador, and surprisingly, she didn't really have much. She mentioned to me that she remembers when she was 5 and she started school in El Salvador with her older sister, and they got made fun of a lot for the way they dressed. Their family didn't really have enough money or have a lot of money, so they so my friend and her sister they had to share food, so they got made fun of for the way they dressed and sharing food. So her experience in school in El Salvador wasn't really great, which made me kind of sad because the only memories she really has are of that. She also remembers walking a lot because they didn't have a car where she lived, and she had to walk like 10, 15 miles to near a store. So as you can imagine, that could take a while. Keep in mind, she's only like 5 years old at this point. So, having to walk that far at such a young age is, it blows my mind. So, fast forward to a year later, and her mother decides she wants to migrate to the United States. And I asked her, what was the reasoning behind, wanting to go to the United States? And she said that her mother wanted a better life for, her and her children, and she felt that the United States would give them that. And she even told me that she thinks that if she stayed in El Salvador, then she would have probably ended up in a gang or, dead. So it was obviously their best bet to move to the United States. And as most of us know, when you've been living somewhere for such a long time and you move somewhere else, you're going to experience, some form of culture shock, no matter where it is. Let's say you live in San Francisco and you move to Los Angeles. Los Angeles has a different culture than San Francisco, so, there's going to be things that are, very different. So I went and asked her, what shocks you the most, coming to the United States? And she said it was like weird. I guess like cars. She wasn't used to seeing cars because she didn't have a car, where she lived, and there weren't very many in El Salvador. Or at least she didn't really, or at least she didn't see that there's any there. And coming here was actually the first time she actually got to ride in a car. So she was also shocked that there were so many fast food restaurants. We have our McDonald's, our Burger King, or Taco Bell. So she thought that was pretty weird because they didn't really have that out there. So fast forward, a few months later, she starts the first grade, I believe. And she, keep in mind that she knows no English at this point. So she was explaining to me how, scared she was. She was terrified to start school because She knew zero English. She knew that the kids already, had their friends. She thought, she wasn't going to fit in. And she was right. She did not fit in at all. She got made fun of for not speaking English, for the way she dressed, and for what she ate, which I thought was weird. I wouldn't make fun of someone for, what they ate. Well, I wouldn't make fun of someone for any of those things, but, for what they ate, I thought was pretty weird. She said it was because she mostly just ate beans and rice and tortillas. And I guess, in California or the United States, most kids eat like a sandwich, a cheeseburger, pizza, hot dog for their lunch. So I guess they made fun of her for that. But it wasn't long after she actually made friends with some of the Latino girls who spoke Spanish. So they kind of, helped her out. And I asked her, when did you actually start to feel like you fit in and that you actually, belonged here? She said it wasn't until she was in sixth grade because she was already pretty much fluent in English. She changed the way she dressed, she changed the way she spoke, she changed what she ate. So she was actually trying to adapt to I guess, the United States culture, which I I can understand why you would want to do that. I mean, I think of it, me, like if I don't speak Spanish, let's say I moved to El Salvador, that would be, such a culture shock for me. I wouldn't know how to interact with anybody. I would be, really, really scared. So yeah, so after sixth grade is when she finally started to adapt into the culture here, and from then on, she hasn't really had much issues. But I thought it was interesting because most people, when they, you know, move somewhere, to a different part of the world, they have, different issues. But with her, I guess since she came here at such a young age, her big issue was pretty much just trying to fit in with the other kids around her. But also, like I said before, her living conditions in El Salvador, they weren't the best. She lived in a very small brick home that was, that had a lot of people in it. They barely had any electricity. They didn't have much water. She didn't have a car. She had to walk everywhere to get groceries. So I think that, I think for her living in that environment and then coming to the United States, we really don't have any problems like that. So I think that benefited her a lot in the long run. And these days, she actually lives in Los Angeles now. She goes to UCLA. She's a psychology major, and she works at a private school. She works with young children. And I asked her, do you still have any, obstacles, being an immigrant moving here? She said the hardest thing is having that title as an immigrant because she feels as if she always has to prove something to somebody. She always has to go above and beyond. Whereas someone who really was who isn't an immigrant, they don't really have to work as hard. She feels for things like jobs and school. So that's pretty much the hardest part about being an immigrant. She told me. But other than that, she's fully adapted to the United States, and I'm really proud of her. So that is the end of my little oral presentation. So thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.